Good evening, family. Welcome to another wonderful, infiltrating, edutating edition of We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. That's right, boys and girls, scholars and laymen. It is I, Brother Ron, and this is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. Uh, as promised, here's the show. I was kind of debating to go live tonight. Uh, I know I have not been as consistent as I would like to have been over these last several weeks. Y'all know my trials of January. I got Omarion, Halls and Oates, whatever that was. And just getting in the groove of things. I had a couple setbacks over the year. But now I think I'm on the right track. I actually my foot is healed now. My left foot is healed, and I've been testing it, taking it for a test drive. I've been working out back in the gym on a consistent basis. Actually came from earlier tonight, ran about almost 3 miles. My left foot is holding up. Ran about 5 miles on Sunday. Been actually working out every day since Sunday, and feeling good, feeling great, feeling great, feeling good, and that means more productivity. That means more content for all you who've been waiting patiently for Brother Ron to make consistent contributions. But my thing is this: there's so much stuff going on, y'all. I mean, it's really you gotta keep your head on a swivel, and there's so much stuff. But to practice the spirit of discernment and to really separate the junk from the substance, that's the key to keeping your eyes on the prize. So I want to do this 2 hour show in honor of Brother Malcolm X, in honor of young Dolph, in honor of Ahmaud Arbery. He got justice that was denied Emmett Till. He got justice that was denied Kendrick Johnson, also a native son of Georgia. Kendrick Johnson case that is going on almost a decade has not still been resolved. They had did several exhumations or exhumed the body of Kendrick Johnson. The Department of Justice, all these other so-called official law enforcement entities do not want to take the grief of that family seriously. Everybody with common sense know that there was foul play involved in the murder of Kendrick Johnson. But yet Ahmaud Arbery, I believe when Ahmaud died, he got justice for his family. They gave Ahmaud Arbery, I guess I'm saying his name right, but when did he die? He died February 23rd, 2020. And on February 22nd, 2022, them three white men or white males or white monsters, whoever, were found guilty of committing federal hate crimes. So they're gonna die in prison. It's not like they're gonna die in prison, but let us not forget uh, that there is no justice for Kendrick Johnson's family. And we all know what's been put out there over the years. And there's a reason why there's no justice, because it's a big cover up. Now, I had interviewed brother Kendrick Johnson's parents, as well as his lawyer at the time, uh, about 6-7 years ago. And it was interesting, man. I don't want to wish that on anybody, family, what they have been going through as a family. We're trying to get justice for their loved one. But my thing is, black people, when have we ever had a fair shake? Y'all, they gave us Ahmaud Arbery. But what about Emmett Till? What about Kendrick Johnson? What about so many, Sandra Bland? So many people. So little time to discuss. Cause I'm gonna keep it 2 hours. I can't do the marathon show. Man, I just don't understand all the stuff I'm trying to adjust to right now. And it's really for the benefit of everybody who's listening and who will listen. The stuff I'm trying to do, I'm trying to improve my well-being so I can be of service more to the people. I can produce more things. So But I got to talk about this. Malcolm X, the 57th anniversary of Malcolm X assassination was yesterday. And every black person should meditate on what we lost when we lost Brother Malcolm. L. Malik Shabazz, Malcolm Little, Detroit Red, whatever. We lost a giant. You know, we were closer to getting stuff that we complain about now. You know, black folks really, we're very infantile. We're in a state of arrested development. We're not really serious about stuff we should be serious about. We more concerned about who's gonna win a stupid bowl, or who's gonna win. You know, we more concerned, we more passionate about sports than we are about liberation. It's not just black people. I mean, we're in a state as a society of bread and circuses. It's a lot of distractions going on. Y'all worry about Ukraine and Russia and all that stuff been going on forever. That's by design. I would tell people right now, you need to read Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. It'll open your mind, because William Cooper saw this coming 30-something years ago. And it's coming to pass now. You know, America always need a boogeyman to justify doing some unethical stuff. Y'all forget that when Joe Biden was vice president, he was out there bullying Ukrainian government. He was trying to blackmail and bully the Ukrainian government when they were trying to investigate his son for his business ties to a Ukrainian business that appeared unethical. We all know about Hunter Biden. He makes Billy Collar like a choir boy. Hunter Biden, you know, that Biden family, I mean, we're strange people. I really do believe if Ida B. Wells came back during her prime, we would hate her, because she would hold black folks accountable. Anybody that hold us accountable, we will hate. If Malcolm X came back, we would hate Malcolm, because he tried to hold black folks accountable. He tried to hold other black Muslims accountable. They hated him for it. And you gotta understand, it's like with young Dolph. It was assassination. It was due to organized hate. Organized hate took out Brother Malcolm X. It was state sponsored. People talk about Snoop Dogg. Thank you, Brother Renato, for the donation. We love you madly. People talk about Snoop Dogg in the Super Bowl halftime performance, right? They talk about him sea walking, wearing the Crip colors, stuff like that. Don't you know that the government created the Crips? Government policy created the Crips, the Bloods, the Vice Lords, the GDs. Any street gang you can name, any street gang in America was created by government policy. The mafia in America was created by government policy. Who created prohibition? Who approved prohibition? What is the outcome of that? Cause and effect. When you cut off the head of the snake, or when you cut off the head of the dog, the tail stopped wagging, right? So you get the Crips because you won't allow our Prentice Bunchy Carter. You wouldn't allow John Huggins to exist. You exterminate them at UCLA. And then try to act like the US organization were the prime puppet masters behind that really was the government. Same thing in Chicago with Fred Hampton. He tried to politicize the gangs, try to empower them, try to liberate the people. And you kill Fred Hampton in his bed at the age of 21. The government did this. This has been proven in court. See, my thing is, I'm not saying stuff that's slanderous or libel against the United States government. This has been proven in the court of law that the United States assassinated Fred Hampton via the FBI, who controlled the state attorney's offices in Illinois, and then Chicago police. See, this is state-sponsored assassination of Black American citizens. We still arguing that we have the right to vote. We supposed to be citizens. We fought in every war. My ancestors fought in every war for this country. I could prove, I had relatives in every war, including white ones. I could trace them back to the American Revolutionary War. But I'm just saying, y'all blame Snoop Dogg. Raymond Washington and Tookie Williams did not create the Crips. The government did. When they imprisoned Geronimo Pratt. When you killed Bunchy Carter and John Huggins. When you kill Fred Hampton Sr. and Mark Clark, you create these street gangs. They created this. So black folks blaming us. We blame each other for the drug trade and for the guns, the proliferation of guns and the wrong hands. The government did that by design. Systemic genocide. The hood rat is a government invention. When you put people in a project and you help them behave a certain way over decades and generations, you get a hood rat. The hood rat does not exist in nature. That's a government invention, the hood rat. Just like you get these black males that act very feminine in their emotions. That's why you get all this havoc going on. I bet you the cats that killed young Dolph didn't have no father, no strong father figure in their home. I don't have to bet. I know they didn't have no strong father figure. I look at the ruin of the black family is the emasculation of the black man. The black man used to be present in the home, used to be present in the life of the family. Black men are needed more than ever. Black men, not black males. Black men, masculine energy is needed at this moment. Malcolm X was masculine energy. Like I said, he was our black manhood, our shining black prince. They cut him down, and he was even in his prime. He was 39 years young. They would not even allow our men to reach their prime. Fred Hampton was 21, Medgar Evers 37, Dr. King 39, and so many others. Even go to Mother Africa, Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba. They all cut down in their 30s. So y'all keep on, the gun that killed Dr. King could be traced back to the FBI. And it was proven in a civil court here in Memphis, December 8th, 1999. The U.S. government was found complicit in the assassination of Dr. King. Now, if they could get rid of presidents, what do you think they're going to do to anybody like us? Dr. King allegedly was watching President Kennedy's funeral procession in D.C. And he was with Walter Fauntroy, who was the secretary of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference at the time, and he became a congressman later on. But he said Dr. King looked at him and said, if they could do that to a president, I won't make it to 40. And they got Dr. King at 39. But Dr. King assumed that they were going to assassinate him in D.C., but they could not let him get to D.C. because if they allowed Dr. King to get to D.C. with the Poor People Campaign, it would have been probably a revolution. If they even killed Dr. King, he could have been like the Crispus Attucks of a new American Revolution. So they could not allow him to get to D.C. because the government was already overextended in Vietnam. So the infrastructure would have been ruined had Dr. King probably got to D.C. So they got him in Memphis. And that was all government. Because people talking about, well, Memphis was just, nah, your government does this to you. And yet we still pay taxes to the government. It's like what Bible Dick Gregory would say. You can't get mad when they drop the bomb on us because we pay for the taxes for them to drop bombs everywhere else. So when they come back, baby, like what Malcolm said, the chickens coming home to roost. You can't act like we innocent in all this. Or they just hate us for our freedoms. I remember when 20-some years ago when all that stuff happened and people were just saying, well, they just hate us for our freedoms. No, they hate you because you don't, it's not even about hate. It's the fact that you don't even understand how this thing works. A lot of us don't understand how things work. They don't teach civics in the class, but yet they want you to vote. They don't teach you how to write in cursive. They don't teach you how to read at your level, but they want you to be responsible for voting. That's why the voters don't count. They don't trust us enough to allow us to have some type of self-determination as a people. They don't educate us enough about our options, about who we are. You don't learn it in the home where you're from. You got these people that are parents, but they're too young really to be responsible to be parents. So that's a form of genocide where you have young people trying to raise children who are ill prepared to deal with the realities of the situation that we face as so-called Black people in particular, and as a society, as a people, as a humanity in general. We gotta reclaim this stuff, but y'all gotta ask yourself a question, because whatever they give, they can take away. I mean, with the Ahmaud Arbery thing, you gotta ask yourself a question: what else are they not doing for us? What else they not telling us about some certain things, right? Because they got that it happened. They got that right before the anniversary, the 2-year anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery being lynched by these 3 white males. But yet you got the situation with Kendrick Johnson. And people are saying that it was law enforcement involved in the murder of Kendrick Johnson. Just like with Sandra Bland. Her mama got the bag, but they never really was held responsible for what happened to Sandra Bland. How she so-called hang herself, what type of garbage bag was used to hang. See, that's why we don't have real black leadership. Especially you got Sheila Jackson Lee down in Texas. Y'all think she's gonna help us get reparations, but she cannot get no answer about what happened to Sandra Bland, Al Green, all them people down there. They're probably getting us reparations, but yet they doing the two-step at the Black Wall Street memorial, 100-year memorial, right? That's why black folks can't be taken seriously about when it comes to our own liberation and self-determination. We don't want the responsibility of being responsible. We want to be with white folks at all costs. We are afraid to leave massa. We got to be with massa at all costs. When you love somebody more than you love yourself, you can't help but be exterminated. You won't last for long. And then, this is sad. I remember I was in the gym working out. I got on a treadmill. I just got in and got on a treadmill. It was a white lady that was like, she was like 2 treadmills over. Right? We had a treadmill between us. As soon as I got on that treadmill, it was my favorite treadmill to get on at the gym. She stopped working out and she just abruptly left. And then her friend said, "Are you finished?" She said, "I am now." Like she basically was trying to imply that she didn't want me anywhere near her, which is interesting. But I didn't really give a damn because I stayed in the machine almost an hour. I didn't care about her not wanting to be around me. I thank God she got away from me because I don't know what she's carrying. You understand? I don't know what Karen is carrying. So, but like some black folks get upset about this. Why didn't want to sit next to me? Why didn't want to run on a treadmill next to me? Why didn't want to live next to me? Why do you want to live next to people that don't want you around? How can you have peace at home when your own neighbors don't want you in the neighborhood? You gotta be a friend to yourself. Like Dr. John Henry Clark would say, we got no friends unless if the person staring back at you from the mirror ain't your friend, you don't got no friends. So I think black folks need to learn how to be friends to themselves. White folks strange to me, strange people, because I'll be carrying a book out in public or I'll be reading a book and white folks got their way to try and figure out what I'm reading. Like they'll ask me, "So what are you reading?" I remember one time I was a substitute teacher at a school and I'm a martyr actually, my Overton High School. And a white male, young male teacher came in. And he asked me what I'm reading. I said, I'm reading a biography on Phil Donahue. And then he said something that was kind of, you don't look like you the type of person to read biographies on Phil Donahue. I said, interesting. I didn't follow with that. I just think people kind of retarded, not retarded, but they're kind of weird. But my thing is, I got to love myself more than I hate anybody else. And I don't promote hate. Malcolm was not about hate. He was about loving black folks. And when you love black folks, you pay a price, even for your own black people, because we love whitey more than we love ourselves anyway. Black folks will fight and die in wars, don't even know how to spell the name of the country that they're fighting and dying in. But yet, if grandma got killed by the police in a no-knock raid in a wrong home, y'all don't say nothing. Y'all just cry and pray and forgive everybody. But yeah, y'all kill folks. Y'all can't even spell their last name or let them pronounce their last name. Y'all willing to kill for Uncle Sam. But when they come to grandma, big mama, oh man, we make excuses. Or let the law handle. The Lord will deal with that. But y'all like to smite. I'm just saying, it's weird to me. It's like, Malcolm talked about you bleed in Korea, but you won't bleed in Mississippi. You bleed in Korea, but you won't bleed in Mississippi. And if you do bleed in Mississippi, it's not because you actually fighting, because you like to play victim. Black folks love to play victim. It's like I was talking to the sister over the weekend, and we started talking about like Mike Tyson and Robin Givens and Floyd Mayweather and his women, and how they were known for allegedly abusing their women. I said, sister, some of them women like that type of abuse. There's women out there that love to be hit by men. They love to be talking bad to, and love to be beat on. Use as punching bags. And the thing about it is, them guys are professional boxers, right? Their hands can be lethal weapons. So evidently, they got enough sense not to beat them up too bad where they beat them to death. So I will give him credit for that. They said, Brian, you got look like I remember Ray Rice, right? The former running back for the Baltimore Ravens, right? He got into it with his fiance at the time, marrying in the elevator at the casino. It was caught on the elevator's video camera. NFL cleared them, but because of the public opinion and perception of things, they blackballed this brother. Even his, fiance said, y'all a bit overboard because I actually, she instigated some of that. See, like you look at things at the visual, but what is the context, right? Because is it right for anybody to hit on anybody? Is it right that because you raised like Ron, you should hit the women, but is it right for a woman to hit me unprovoked? Like, should not try to protect myself by any means necessary, whether it be a man or woman? Like when dudes try to do all this chivalrous stuff, like people will try to break up fight between a man and a woman. You call yourself saving the woman end up killing you because she don't know you. She knows this terrorist, this abuser. She got that Stockholm syndrome thing. Black folks got that Stockholm syndrome thing, but you call yourself trying to be a good Samaritan, you end up getting killed. So was it worth it? I remember a guy. I don't know the guy. It happened in Memphis at a IHOP in Whitehaven several years ago. It was a guy called himself being a good Samaritan, trying to protect this woman. I don't know if he was related to the woman. Y'all could probably find this stuff in the archive. I'm sure a news station got it posted somewhere on YouTube or whatever. But he called himself, he was a military guy. He's a black guy. He was a married man with children. He called himself trying to break up a fight between a man and a woman at the IHOP. I think the woman worked at the IHOP. Dude ended up killing him, but he didn't die fast enough. He actually suffered on the sidewalk or something like that. And people nobody really helped him. He just basically suffered in his last moments, but he left a woman, his wife, with kids. He left a widow with kids. Was that the smart thing to do, to get into something that cost him his life and put an extra burden on his family? Well, Malcolm X got in this stuff. You're right. He got killed before his family. Malcolm X got killed before his wife and 4 daughters, had twins in his wife's womb. They were traumatized. Matter of fact, after the so-called exoneration of the so-called accused assassins like Khalil Islam, who's deceased now, and Muhammad Aziz, who used to be known, I believe, as Norman Butler, Malcolm X's daughter, one of the twins in the womb, she died under suspect circumstances, I would say. It was weird reading the articles about her passing because it's like the article in the corner thought that the family should tell everybody how his daughter died. And it's right around the time that these men were exonerated in court. And really, they still guilty to me. I'm not going to exonerate them. It's kind of like you look at young Dolph thing. Now they got all these suspects and person of interest. That was a conspiracy to kill Dolph. That was a hit. Understand? People said, well, they were hating. I said, it's organized hate. They killed Kennedy because they were hating. They didn't like the fact that Kennedy wanted to have peace on earth and goodwill towards men. Y'all be talking about, well, Kennedy slept with this person. I mean, it wasn't about that. They hated Kennedy because it's like Trump. He didn't want to really get into nothing. I don't think if Trump was in office, I could be wrong. I don't think we'll be having this issue with Ukraine and Russia because they spent all the 4 years while Trump in office trying to frame him on the Russia thing, when it's really Hillary Clinton. They the real traitors. Hillary Clinton and her company, they the real traitors. Trump to me was a patriot because he kept us out of unnecessary wars. Now we're gonna have to start. They trying to start another war where we be entangled. Like you got to replace Afghanistan with the Ukraine and Russia now. So we probably be entangled with this for 20-something years going forward. And yet we some fools because we train and condition our people, our family members to fight these wars that don't benefit Americans. Like I said, you can't protect your grandma from getting shot in the face by the police on no knock warrants. So why are you going overseas to die for something that you have no understanding of? You have no understanding of. We have no business. Malcolm X was one of the first prominent Black figures to protest the Vietnam War. Now, people always talk about Dr. King, his great Riverside Church speech back in April 4th, 1967. But Malcolm came out against the Vietnam War several years before Dr. King. And that Probably part of that cost him his life because his influence with melanated countries. Like you had African representatives in the United Nations quoting Malcolm on the United Nations floor. Malcolm was working with the Pinto, the Indian Kenyan the freedom fighter, the Mau Mau, who worked with Jomo Kenyatta. You know, the Pinto got killed a couple of days after Malcolm. He got killed in front of his daughter, and his family had to flee Kenya and go to Canada, I believe, and it's where they at to this day, if I'm not mistaken. I think his widow's still around. I don't know, but I'm saying the Pinto was a young man. He was an Indian. He wasn't like the Kamala Harris type of Indian. He knew he was an Indian, but also he respected black people immensely. And he was a real freedom fighter. I think he was really the first important political figure to be assassinated in Kenya after the Mau Mau uprising with Jomo Kenyatta. But I mean, this stuff is slippery slope. But it was the Pinto that encouraged Malcolm to bring the United States up on charges of human rights violations against Black Americans. Now you had somebody like James Foreman, who ran CORE. You know, y'all remember that movie, The Great Debaters, with Denzel. It was a guy, I think his name was Denzel Whitaker, that played a young James Foreman. He was a prodigy. He was like Dr. King. He went to college real young. I think he was like 15 or something like that. But James Foreman was, I don't know if he was the founder of CORE, but he was the president or lead of CORE during the civil rights era. His theory was that Malcolm X was killed because he got in the way of organized crime, drug trafficking. Like Malcolm wanted to stop the drug trade from poisoning the Black community. So he might have gotten away with the French Connection. Like I knew that Bumpy Johnson series with Forrest Whitaker, which is interesting. But they talked about the French Connection. Well, Malcolm was trying to stop. He was trying to disrupt the drug trade that was destroying the inner cities of America where Black folks live. And it might have cost him his life. Malcolm was into a lot of different things. I think I know people need to study Malcolm a little bit more, not just for the speeches, but also for his philosophy and what he was trying to do. There's still people around that's walking this planet that work with Malcolm. Now that number is dwindling. You know, you still got A. Peter Bailey and some other folks. I talked to Ronell Collins every blue moon. That's Malcolm's nephew. His sister A.L.L Collins' son. Ella was the benefactor for Malcolm. She sponsored his trips to Mecca. She was the one that started the annual birthday pilgrimage to his graveside up in Ferncliff Cemetery. She started that. It's a lot of stuff to consider, but you got to understand. It's like with Young Dolph, when Yo Gotti, Yo Gotti, who was Young Dolph's nemesis. They were friends at first. They had a falling out. Yo Gotti, whenever he decides, whatever happens to him, like in his obituary, they're gonna have to mention his beef with Young Dolph. There's no way around it. Even him being a suspect allegedly in the demise of Young Dolph, it has to be mentioned in his obituary. That's part of the story. It's like with Minister Farrakhan, when he passes on, they are going to mention his connection to the Malcolm X assassination. It has to be mentioned because Farrakhan even admitted on national television when Malcolm's eldest daughter, when they were both being interviewed by Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace did the documentary The Hate produced with the pioneer African-American journalist Louis Lomax, who was killed under suspect circumstances. Louis Lomax was working on a movie and book that was going to reveal who actually killed Malcolm X and Dr. King. And somehow he died in a one-car accident in New Mexico. His brakes went out. That's Louis Lomax. Y'all look up Louis Lomax. He was the first Black person to have a TV news show, I believe, on television. But he's not talked about, but he was well known. It's kind of like Tavis Smiley. Tavis Smiley was well known. Now all of a sudden they scrubbing him off. Y'all forget about the State of the Black Union stuff. That would be like Black folks Super Bowl. We look at Dick Gregory and Farrakhan, all these people showing up and showing out. Dr. Cornel West, all these Black luminaries showing up and showing out. Now we don't even talk about that. We don't even know what Tavis Smiley doing. What's Tavis at now? We recognize Tavis if we saw him again. Oh man, People got to start thinking about stuff. But that's a part of Farrakhan's story. He's associated with Malcolm X. Malcolm trained Farrakhan. He was one of Malcolm's ministers. He personally trained him. Malcolm wanted Farrakhan and Muhammad Ali to both lead the nation and join him in his movement. And there's a speech that Farrakhan did at I think either Chicago State University or Medgar Evers College or whatever. I think Chicago State University back in 1990. He did a speech. It should be available still on YouTube. He talked about when Malcolm came to him. They were sitting in a car, and Malcolm told him, Elijah Muhammad, he was messing around with young ladies or young. I don't know, that's kind of a slippery slope, but he told it to Farrakhan about Elijah Muhammad's messing around with his young secretaries. And I believe Farrakhan said he told Elijah Muhammad what Malcolm told him. So he snitched on Malcolm, Farrakhan. But he did a speech about that to justify his actions and all that stuff. This is back in 1990. And Farrakhan said some inflammatory stuff over the years, but he had to change his tune because Malcolm wasn't going anywhere. As much as they tried to, they killed Malcolm in life, but he's bulletproof in death. It's like with young Dolph. They killed him in life, but he's actually bulletproof in death. He ain't going nowhere. His influence will be felt for a long time, I believe. And same thing with Malcolm. But it's so deep with this type of stuff, right? I encourage you all, stop looking at talking heads. I'm a talking head. Don't take my word for it. Dig deep into this stuff. This is stuff out here that you need to connect with. Stop looking for other people to be leaders that you are afraid to be. Be your own leader. That's why I had to do this show tonight, the 2-2-2-2-2 thing, whatever everybody talking about that. It's time for all of us to step up and help and have some accountability for our actions and for our future actions. But we got to learn from the past. But Minister Farrakhan cannot escape his connection to Malcolm's death. You had one of Malcolm's daughters being used by the FBI. She had a Jewish boyfriend who was an FBI asset, being used to try to so-called assassinate Minister Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan, it's right before the Million Man March took place. They had that summit, him, Betty Shabazz, Dr. Betty Shabazz, the widow of Malcolm X, and Al Sharpton at the Apollo. I don't know if they actually recorded the whole thing. I'm sure it's out there, the whole thing, but Farrakhan said he forgave Malcolm's daughter for her alleged involvement in his assassination attempt and all that. He didn't hold no ill will towards her. I think they were trying to help to raise money for her legal defense fund or something like that. So they all agreed to meet. And Dr. Betty Shabazz, for the public, at least for public face, she put aside her animosity or whatever misgivings she had about Minister Farrakhan and his involvement. Now, with the minister, I have yet to see any footage of anybody asking Minister Farrakhan, for the record, what was he at February 21st, 1965? You have people that asked George H.W. Bush where he was at for November 22nd, 63. You had folks ask Richard Nixon where he was at for the record, November 22nd, 1963. But I have yet to hear anybody ask the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, where was he February 21st, 1965, when he, when he heard about what happened to Brother Malcolm. Now, Dr. Manny Marable in his book, A Life of Reinvention about Malcolm X, is suspect some of the stuff. You know what? They could have killed Manny Marable and rewrote some of that book. And Manny, I actually interviewed Manny Marable back in July of 2007. We talked about an hour. This is like several years before his book came out. He died right before the release of the Malcolm X biography, which he won many awards. I think he won the Pulitzer for that as well. But he wasn't able to enjoy the success because he had the same so-called medical condition as Bernie Mac, the sarcoidosis, whatever, with the lungs. I think he had a transplant. It went well, and all of a sudden, like I guess during recovery, he died. They probably murdered Dr. Manny Marable and changed some of the wording in that book around. Because it's sad to think that Dr. Manny Marable, who's been an advocate for Malcolm's legacy for years, who worked closely with Malcolm's family, will leave that as his legacy, that book, which is problematic to me. I read the book and it's problematic, but it is what it is. And like what Malcolm's nephew told me, like when he went to a publisher to want to tell the story of his famous uncle, he got a book out, The Seventh Child. I think he wrote that with A. Peter Bailey. The publisher told him, he's like, do you want to make money or do you want, he said, It's like something the publisher said, something like, do you want to make money? Do you want a bestseller, or do you just want to write a book? And he said, I want all of that. He said, you can't have all that. You either want to publish a book, or you want a bestseller and make money. And the publisher told him that you got to find something controversial about your uncle that we could sell. You know, when Manny Marable book came out, they were pushing they're saying Malcolm X was homosexual, right? And that's been around forever. You know, it go back to this white academic named Bruce Perry, who wrote a book about Malcolm in the early 90s. Bruce Perry was interesting because he actually interviewed a whole bunch of people that was connected to Malcolm. He actually did a lot of field research and actually connected with so-called primary sources like Malcolm's family and associates and probably even enemies, did hours of research and interviews. But the thing about it is, it's not necessarily the data, it's the interpretation of the data, how he created a narrative based on what he got from the interviews. And so Bruce Perry claimed back in his book back in the 90s that Malcolm was a male prostitute. And but I mean, he was a hustler, right? I mean, that kind of implied in the Malcolm X movie. He was a street hustler. Detroit Red was a hustler. So just because he was a male prostitute doesn't make him gay. You know, I have talked to women, and I asked a woman, I asked a woman recently, I said, if a guy is a cross dresser, does it make him gay? He said, yeah. But he just, I heard it was this famous film director named Ed Wood, this white guy. You know, they did a movie about Ed Wood with Johnny Depp starring as Ed Wood, and Martin Landau played Dracula. You know what I'm saying? You know, the Dracula guy. He won an Oscar for that. But they did a movie about Ed Wood, this famous Hollywood director who basically was the worst film director in history, supposedly. He had the worst movies of all time. They were not even B movies, they were Z movies. But Ed Wood was very eccentric. He used to wear dresses, you know, and sometimes he'll dress in drag in some of his movies. And some of his I saw interviews with some of his former lovers and partners and stuff. Some of them were turned off by it. Some of them were accepting because one of his partners, I think his wife that he was married to when he died, she was saying something to the fact that he wasn't gay. He just liked to feel the fabric of the dresses, and that his mom wanted a girl, but he was born, so she was dressing him up as a boy. I mean, dressing him up as a girl. And I remember like seeing pictures, like you look at pictures of white babies from like a long time, like Franklin Roosevelt and even Harry Truman. They were dressed as girls, hell. And you were president, you were macho man, right? You were presidents, heads of state, but they were dressed as girls by their mom. I don't know if there's a psychological thing to that, but they were dressed as little girls. Look at some baby pictures of FDR and Harry Truman. They were actually dressed as girls. I guess that was a style back then, but still, that was weird to think about. But she didn't see him as being gay. But one guy claimed that Ed Wood, he was a Marine, and he was a World War II veteran. And he said that Ed Wood, during battle, he actually had on pink panties. And Ed Wood told him, or he learned that Ed Wood said that if he get injured, he want to die in battle. He don't want to get injured in battle because when he died, if you die in battle, they don't take off your clothes. They don't check for your underwear. But if he got injured and they took off his clothes, they saw he had some pink panties on. It's like he's just dying from embarrassment will be worse than actually dying the actual death for him. So, I mean, it's women that will tell me, see, women are interesting. These are black women. I don't deal with other women. I deal with black women. They tell me stories about, like one girl told me she had sex with this guy. Regular sex, whatever. Then the guy got on his legs and hands, and he was, he told her to put something up his, his anus, and she did it. And she, because they will say, well, that's where y'all G spot is inside the anus. So she didn't see him as gay. She didn't see that as weird. She's like, well, that's his pleasure spot. I mean, I had another girl told me that she did that too. She didn't think no guy that actually wants somebody like, put something up there was gay. That was a pleasure spot. It's nothing to do with homosexuality or sexuality. It's what a G spot is for guys inside the anus. So she had no problem. She just had a problem with dude cross-dress. So with Malcolm X, you can't even prove that's true or not. You can't even prove that in prison. Now, Malcolm had his running buddy, Malcolm Shorty Jarvis. He said some things about Malcolm, but it could be shade. Malcolm Shorty Jarvis, he's a career criminal and all that stuff. That's the guy that Spike Lee played in the movie Malcolm X's biopic. But I think Malcolm Shorty Jarvis had some jealousy issues towards Detroit. I mean, Malcolm and what he ended up becoming. He became a great man. So, I mean, people talking about prison, a different thing too. It's folks that be in prison. They don't look at themselves as being homosexual. They got a need that need to be fulfilled. They got to scratch. They got an itch that need to be scratched. And when they get out of here, cats don't talk about what they did in prison. What they did in prison stays in prison. But they have families and a lot of children and stuff. I mean, it's kind of weird. All this stuff is interesting. Because even go back to slavery, they used to dress young black boys as girls. You look at the movie Goodbye Uncle Tom. Look at the man, that movie is so traumatic for me. I only looked at it one time all the way. It's traumatic. But it needs to be watched because it's telling the reality of what really happened to black folks in slavery. And I can understand why black folks don't want to admit that we were enslaved and that we want to be Native Americans. We got Native American. I'm saying, yeah, people trying to, okay, well, slavery didn't happen. It happened. It happened. You got folks that knew former slaves in their family. They're still living. So we got to stop with this BS. But you know what? We got to reinterpret it. It's so deep when you think about the stuff that we've been through as a people. But with Malcolm, let's say Malcolm was a male prostitute who did homosexual acts when he was Detroit Red. He was not doing that as Malcolm X or as El Malik Shabazz. He was a freedom fighter. He didn't talk about this stuff in his speech. Malcolm did a whole bunch of speeches being recorded. He never talked about that. That was in his past. Whatever he did in his past, I don't hold it against anybody because we all got a past. The thing about it is how you grow from that past. Malcolm had a lot to overcome, and he overcame. And he made his point. He made his statement, and that's why Malcolm X lives. Malcolm X never dies. The spirit never dies. So they've been trying to character assassinate Malcolm for decades now. But Bruce Perry started that thing about Malcolm being a homosexual, and then Dr. Manny Marable picked up on it. Now I give credit to brother Carl Evans, who wrote the Judas Factor that came out around the time when the Malcolm biopic came out. And even though I enjoyed the Malcolm biopic, it was this, you cannot look at that as a historical artifact when it comes to the life of Malcolm. It was a lot of propaganda, because how you going to talk about Malcolm, not talk about Minister Farrakhan? Now, Spike Lee interviewed Farrakhan for many hours for that movie, but made no mention of Minister Farrakhan in the movie. And also Minister Baines was not a real person. He was a composite character, because it was Malcolm's brothers and sisters that got him involved in the nation. They the one that encouraged him to join the Nation of Islam. There wasn't no Minister Baines that encouraged him. Then he had a prison mate who should have been in the movie. This guy who was a brilliant intellect who encouraged Malcolm to get on the debate team. They made no mention of that guy. It is so much stuff. You should not get your history lesson from Hollywood, because it does not serve black folks any good trying to find some black history knowledge about us in Hollywood. Because Bill Cosby, he said something that stayed with me when I got a chance to speak with him this past summer. He said, we got to tell our stories, man. He just basically, he was animate. Black people must be in charge of telling their stories. Because he said, by the time we get to Hollywood, it's out of our hands. And that's by design. But, we got to stop looking at Hollywood and white people to be responsible for, or to be the gatekeepers of our history. We got to tell our story. We got to stop making excuses for telling the truth when we do tell our stories. Picasso said art is allowed to make us realize truth. If we're going to, do this art thing or creative thing, we got to, it's so important. But, Bruce Perry book started that Malcolm is a homosexual thing. You cannot prove it either way. There's no point in talking about, because Malcolm did not die for being a homosexual, alleged, or if he was, he died for standing up for black people against the powers that be. Now, I think Manny Marable book about Mr. Farrakhan, get back to where he was at. They say he was over there, what, March 25, over there in Newark. The so-called assassins came from Mosque 25. That's the mosque of William Bradley, shotgun man. You know, in the Malcolm X movie, there's a guy walking down the aisle with the shotgun, blew out Malcolm's chest, who was in Cory Booker's mayor campaign commercial. You can still find that commercial. William Bradley, who died back in, I think, 2018. And the dude who did that Netflix Malcolm X movie, that dude from DC, is very problematic. That movie is very problematic because Norman Butler is not innocent like they make. I don't got no animosity towards the man, but there are photos of him being there at the Audubon the day Malcolm got killed with his Bama head. He had that Bama, had his head flipped like this. Look, there's a country looking up in his coat, had his head flipped. There's images. It might be his doppelganger. If that's not him, that must be his twin cousin. I mean, twin brother or something. But he was there on the scene. The other brother, Khalil Islam, he wasn't there. He was actually sick, and it's been proven that he was sick with his wife at home. And they were known as enforcers for the Nation of Islam. They were known as goons, Fruit of Islam guys. So the guy's not totally innocent. It's like Dick Gregory said. He said they did find out years ago that Khalil Islam and who is now known Muhammad Aziz, formerly Norman Butler, did not pull the trigger that day. But the reason why, Dick Gregory said they withheld the information because they were not totally innocent of harassing Malcolm right up to his death. They were part of the team that harassed Malcolm. They would chase him, on the streets, what I'm saying, beat up his followers and all that stuff. Would hunt him, chase him down, follow him from the airport. He could be in Los Angeles, New York, or whatever. They were known for harassing Malcolm and his family. So they were not completely innocent of creating the atmosphere that led to his demise. It's like with Farrakhan, he cannot escape that. Y'all, y'all want to clean it up. He can't clean up. That's part of his legend. You created an atmosphere. He admitted on Mike Waller's show. I think Malcolm's eldest daughter was there. She still had a hard time forgiving that man. And people, why she don't have to forgive that man? Why I understand how black folks be so quick to forgive folks that don't give a damn about your forgiveness. Give a damn if you give, Dylan Roof don't care about these black folks forgiving him. Hell, what type of monster? Man, we weird. But I'm saying, like, with Farrakhan, he wrote that article in the paper that Malcolm founded. That's the infamous cartoon with Malcolm with the devil horns. His head is decapitated from his body. It's bouncing down the street. And then Farrakhan called for the death of Malcolm. He said he deserves death. I'm not making this up. And I respect the minister. I'm just saying, man, y'all live in la la land. It's like they interviewed John Ali for the Netflix special. John Ali was FBI. He was in control of correspondence between Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad. Ain't no telling what he did. That that's just, and he's still around. And that documentary did not even try to hold him accountable for being an FBI asset, who was national secretary, who controlled the correspondence. It's like, the FBI had a Black Panther coloring book they used to mail to white people to their homes to try to discredit the Black Panther Party. The FBI was known for writing poison letters to different leadership people within different street organizations. Like, they wrote letters trying to, like, Fred Hampton trying to neutralize Jeff Fort, and then they wrote letters to Fred Hampton saying, "Well, Jeff Fort trying to kill you." They do that by design. It was a guy that was like number 2 guy at the FBI, William Sullivan. He was the guy that wrote the letter to Dr. King saying, you should do the right thing. You're a disgrace. You're a traitor. Basically implying that Dr. King should kill himself. He was the guy responsible for the letter, and also the COINTELPRO tactics of the coloring books and all that stuff, the poison letters. And he had a change of heart, right? He was going to testify before Congress. This is William C. Sullivan, number 2 man, the FBI. And he was killed during a hunting accident. Now, the weird thing, they said that the guy who killed him was a young guy, mistaken him for a deer, but he had like on an orange. Ain't no way in hell you could mistake. You know how people go out hunting, they had like loud orange jet vest on. He had loud colors on. But the dude mistaken him for a deer. The young guy, he might have been CIA, I don't know. The guy who killed him, military intelligence, who knows? It's like with General Patton, the guy who killed him. People think General Patton was murdered. He probably was killed because he wanted to go to war with the Russians, and we didn't want that. He wanted to use the Nazis, PO prisoners of war, to go to war with Russia. And Russia was the reason why we won World War II. They had the most casualties, more than any other country. But Russia was the reason why World War II was won by the so-called Allies. But Patton didn't trust the Russians. He wanted to take the Germans and march to Moscow. And powers that be wasn't having it. They could kill Roosevelt. Who was General Patton? They get rid of Franklin Roosevelt. They got rid of Franklin Roosevelt back in April 12, 1945, down in Warm Springs, Georgia. So there's a lot of mystery behind that. What happened to Franklin Roosevelt? But he had Russian people. He had some Russian spies within his administration. Some people believe that Roosevelt was poisoned slowly by his cook, allegedly. It's a lot to it. I remember reading a quote from Dr. Du Bois. This is Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. He claimed that Roosevelt was murdered. This is back in the late 40s. You know, they formed the United Nations, all this stuff. So that must have been common knowledge back then. It's like people knew that it was black folks involved in kidnapping, torturing, killing Emmett Till. Like y'all, they knew that back then. But like y'all just found it out by looking at some movie or a TV show called Women of the Movement. Y'all don't know nothing. We don't know. We let these folks tell us everything and anything about who we are. It's like we have no curiosity unless it's a football or basketball game. Who cares about an all-star game when black folks getting killed and they deny you knowledge yourself? The whole point of education is to know who you are and how far you can go, right? If your foundation does not include anything about who you are and where you come from, you are defeated before you started. There's no way you can win a race if you don't know what you're rooted in. Why run a race if you don't know the origins of what you're running from or running to? But that Malcolm stuff is deep, man, because the only reason we know really anything is because one of Malcolm's bodyguards shot Ahmaud Hayer, who's been out for several years now. You know, it was Reuben Francis that shot him in the leg. They slowed him down, and the police saved his life because them black folks were about to kill him and rip him apart, and rightfully so. But they saved his life. The police, the NYPD, who wasn't there, knowing that when Malcolm would have a rally or speech at the Audubon, without even him requesting anything, there'd be like 3 dozen police officers around the vicinity, the vicinity of him speaking. There were hardly any police officers around. They came around after Malcolm was shot down like a dog. But Reuben Francis, one of his bodyguards, allegedly ain't supposed to have any guns. Malcolm's security didn't supposed to have any guns. Supposed to not have any guns. Excuse me, I know I talk fast. And it was not checking anybody. Now you go to a Nation of Islam event, they checking everybody. They're checking everybody. You ain't getting close to Farrakhan. I got a Hallmark card. No, buddy. They ain't let me close to Farrakhan. I got a plaque for him. We all be Lifetime Achievement Award. Them kids, they all knew who I was. They said, Brother Ron, I'm so-and-so, brother so-so X from Chicago, Baltimore, whatever. I said, can I talk to the minister or just no, bro, we can't let you do that. But they let the women come, they let the entertainers come and talk to Farrakhan. They're like, I'm gonna ask him something disrespectful. I'm gonna do something disrespectful to the minister. I ain't trying to get no beat down. Just want to honor the brother, a fellow Taurus, that's all. But anyway, Reuben Francis shot Ahmaud Hayer, I believe, in the leg. And nobody knows what happened to Reuben Francis. At least we don't know. He disappeared after that. After that day, Reuben Francis disappeared. He could have been an agent. He could have been military intelligence. Who knows? Because Malcolm was so compromised. Like even he knew in the Nation of Islam was compromised by police. Even Malcolm talked about it in his speech. Said, "How can they say we planning anything against America when our organization got police officers in it?" So Malcolm knew. It's weird, man. It's strange because y'all don't understand. All these organizations got those type of people. They got law enforcement in them. Normally, it's the law enforcement that encourage so-called terroristic threats and acts, like that. Ray Woods, right? Confession letter that was read like a year or two ago. That Ray Woods was I think he was bossy. It was like police intelligence, and he confessed to setting up some of Malcolm's followers right before his assassination took place, because these 2 guys that were set up would have been part of Malcolm's security detail. They would probably be the ones say, "You know what, Malcolm? I know, brother, you said don't check the folk. We're gonna check all these people. See, they got them two people out the streets. These two brothers that would have been part of Malcolm's security detail. They got them off quickly off the streets. So they, Ray Woods did that. He was a guy that told he tried to encourage folks to commit terroristic acts like blowing up New York landmarks. It's kind of like you look at the Panther 21. You know that Malcolm's chief bodyguard, Gene Roberts, was involved in setting up Tupac's mama and 20 other Black Panthers. Chad said they were trying to blow up historic landmarks in New York City, like the Empire State Building and the Statue of Liberty. So Gene Roberts was Malcolm's chief bodyguard. He was undercover NYPD bossy, Bureau of Special Services and Investigation. I think it's something like that. So you gotta look this stuff up. So y'all want to start these. See, they had BLM back in the day. See, today we call it Black Lives Matter, but back then it was called Black Liberation Movement, and it was very much compromised. The feds is watching. The feds is watching. The feds is watching. So all these organizations, be careful who you associate with. Because I meet people all the time, they won't be my friend. I don't know who these people are. These people come out, I'm brother, I'm this thing. It might be NSA, CIA, FBI, and people laugh about that. But you don't know how powerful you are. Y'all assume that these folks don't care about what y'all doing and who you associate with. Oh, the people know. And they listening. You think you got your cell phone turned off or your TV turned off? They listening. The feds is watching and listening. There's no such thing as privacy. There's like no such thing as normalcy. There's no such thing as these things. So let me show you evidence of what I'm talking about with the Malcolm X thing. And we'll move into Young Dolph. And I'll talk a little bit more about Ahmaud Arbery, my thoughts about that. But thank you all, the people who really enjoy what I do. I appreciate your support. It means a lot when I get not just donations, but like this correspondence from people. I don't always respond. I'm in a weird place right now. It's just a lot going on. And I'm just trying to be a part of the solution. Sometimes I can't please everybody. I'm sorry. I don't always return the phone calls and the texts, but know that you are thought of. I received them, and you are blessing me by encouraging me, by feeding me words of encouragement, by supporting what I'm doing with this, with my ministry. It's very important. And my thing is not to be the so-called expert talking head. My thing is just to give y'all some food for thought, and you can receive it or you can reject it. But I just want to encourage you all to start your own journey into seeking truth. It's not important. It was a sister, a beautiful sister. She said that she wished Dick Gregory was around still. I said, Dick Gregory did what he's supposed to do. His spirit lives, but stop looking towards another person for your salvation, liberation. You are responsible for your salvation and liberation. There's the point. But let me see. Like I said, thank y'all for your patience, man. I just want to give y'all at least 2 hours of stuff. Sometimes I wish I could be better prepared. Sometimes really I go off the top of my dome doing this stuff. And I just like people that you got a lot of research. I don't got no research. I'm a one-man movement. Like I'm blessed that I got Dr. Callie Hurd, my mom. She helped provide resources, helped write grants and stuff like that. And she's a wonderful person. And like I was looking at that the Kanye West documentary on Netflix. Everybody should look at that. I think it's very important that everybody watch that. There's some powerful gems in there. And I thank the guy for following Kanye for all those years to get that history, his backstory. But I think every Black child, like you listen to me well, every Black child should have an advocate like Dr. Thunder West. Every Black child deserves an advocate like Dr. Thunder West. She was such a beautiful spirit. And I see why Kanye suffered how he suffered, because she really believed, she encouraged, she nurtured that man into something great. Whatever you think about Kanye, thank God for his Black mama for doing what she did. And not only being a mother to him, but being a mother to the Black men in the community. Helping them brothers as prophet. I mean, like that's a powerful legacy that Kanye is a part of. He come from powerful trees. And I think his mom was a Black Panther. I think his father was a Black Panther. So they don't want, Kanye is the rose that grew from concrete, but his mama is amazing. What I seen in the documentary, she was a powerful, powerful spirit. And she is truly a righteous ancestor, in my opinion. But anyway, check out that Genius or something, genius or something. I don't know. But anyway, let me see. I want to find the Butler thing to make my point. Okay. Check this out. That's he called Norman Butler. But I'm trying to make a point here. If you look at that, look, read what it says. Like he was known for wearing that type of head style, that Bama style, hillbilly style. We have his, I guess the head part, the front brim folded up. And there's a dude actually that was there after Malcolm was assassinated, was outside the Audubon. They identified maybe that's his twin brother, a doppelganger, but it's like Muhammad Aziz to me. So my thing is, I think that the documentary was they really skewered a lot of things that they didn't talk about. What happened to brother Leon Amir, one of Malcolm's closest associates, part of the Organization for Afro-American Unity and Muslim Mosque Inc., who used to be the secretary, the press secretary for Muhammad Ali. They don't discuss his mysterious death up in the hotel up in Boston. They don't talk about the Pinto. There's so many folks that got killed around the Malcolm X, Louis Lomax. They don't talk about him. So and then David Garrow, he should be ashamed of himself. He made his name after writing about the greatness of Dr. King. Now he want to use the latter part of his years to destroy the legacy of Dr. King he helped to promote through his scholar work. So how can we trust anything that devil allegedly has to say about Dr. King? See, people forget. It's like with the Cosby thing, people getting their emotions. They have not proved that Dr. King was even a womanizer. Think about what I'm saying. I didn't say he wasn't a womanizer. They have not proved the case. They have accusations. Like, they said, well, Coretta was played a recorded tape of that. It may not have been Dr. King. Y'all assume that was Dr. King. Maybe that's why he felt strong enough not to kill himself and keep on with his work. And then why they had to kill him eventually 4 years later in 1968. This said Norman 3X Butler wore his fedora in the Bama or hillbilly style, similar to Jethro Clampett of the Beverly Hillbillies and Sheriff Barney Fife of the Andy Griffith Show. That's some goofy stuff right there. Like it'd be a member of the Fat Albert gang. Goofy hat, Bama hat. Call him, hey, Bama hat. All the beaches by blue Bama hat. By wearing his fedora at an awkward 45-degree angle, Butler unknowingly made it easy to identify him in the crowd outside the Audubon Ballroom. Still frames show him stranded to view Malcolm X's body. The herringbone coat also sealed his face. So he's there. But why did they conveniently leave? I mean, okay, let's say, to be fair, why did they not show these photos to brother Muhammad Aziz during the documentary and make him answer like, is that you? Is he is or is it ain't you, bro? Who is that? Because like the guys like Khalil Islam and brother Muhammad Aziz were known enforcers of the Nation of Islam. And, there was bad blood between Malcolm X and his captain Joseph X of Mosque number 7 up in New York. It was bad blood between them guys. You can look at it's a great documentary done on Malcolm X called Malcolm X Make It Plain. Came out in the early 90s. It was produced by by a man who was a true visionary, Henry Hampton. We both went to Washington University, and he created at one point the world's largest black film organization. And he passed away, unfortunately, back in 98, but he's the visionary behind Eyes on the Prize. He's the guy who got the tape on William O'Neill. He got that William O'Neill interview before he killed himself, allegedly. And he did this great documentary interview with Malcolm's siblings, including Ella and some of his brothers and sisters, other sisters. And he interviewed Captain Joseph X. And even it's been years later, you could see the hatred that Captain Joseph X had for Malcolm. Still, Malcolm been dead for years, and Captain Joseph X still had animosity towards brother Malcolm. It kind of reminds me of images where you hear about like Black Youngster, Yo Gotti's rapper, his protege, how he had animosity towards Young Dolph. Although I think Young Dolph and him never met, but he had this type of vicious, and he got this alleged vicious animosity towards young Dolph. Well, you know, it's people like that. No matter what you do, some people ain't gonna like you, but they had a falling out, Malcolm and Joseph X. I think Malcolm disciplined him for abusing his wife. I think Captain Joseph X abused his wife or something, and Malcolm disciplined him for it. And he felt like Malcolm embarrassed him, never forgave him for it. But Malcolm was the one that helped him get into the nation. You know, Malcolm found him when he was down and out, strung out on drugs, from my understanding, reading a version of that. It's like Malcolm just got betrayed by a lot of people that he helped. Malcolm could read a crowd, but he couldn't read his circle. That is like so Shakespearean tragedy to me. Like, he could read a crowd. Malcolm was a known hustler. He knew how to read people, but he couldn't read his own circle. The snakes around him. But that's Norman Butler, allegedly. So he's in this, you know, why don't I never explain? William Bradley's there. He was there when it's a picture of Thomas Hire being almost tore apart by the crowd and the police saving his life. There's a William Bradley there in his long coat covering probably his shotgun. That's the guy that was in Cory Booker's mayor campaign commercial. And they interviewed Cory Booker for the documentary, but I don't think they ever brought it. It's just strange. Newark is like Memphis. Like, everybody know who did what, but nobody do anything about it. Everybody knew who helped kill Malcolm X, where they came from, in the Black Muslim community in Newark, but they didn't do nothing about it. And the irony is that the high school that William Bradley went to, is now named after Malcolm X, according to the documentary. But let's look at some other stuff. Trying to find some other stuff. And Black folks celebrate them being exonerated, but you know what? It's not even on them, because they just small bit players. It's like the folks who pulled the trick on Young Dolph. They're not the one that ordered the hit. You know what I'm saying? What they try and do is try not to make the government complicit in the killing of Malcolm X. And the government was very much complicit in killing Malcolm X. The U.S. government killed Malcolm X. The U.S. government killed Dr. King. The U.S. government killed Fred Hampton Sr. The U.S. government did that. You know, they killed the people at Waco, Ruby Ridge. It's not just a black thing. They're killing everybody. These folks are very vicious. And yet y'all made it Trump. What's wrong with y'all, man? I really do believe if Trump was in office, this Ukrainian thing would not be a problem. Thank y'all for being patient, man. I just trying to get through this stuff. I don't really care for all this. People in the celebrity news. I don't be into that celebrity mess. I don't be caring about that no more. I don't care about what Nick Cannon and Kiki Wyatt. They just, like, you touch them, Kiki Wyatt, you just touch her, you sneeze on her, she get pregnant. Jesus. And God bless them, man. Be fruitful and multiply. All the same. This is William Sullivan, the guy who's the number 2 man in the FBI. He's the one that came up with those ideas in COINTELPRO, sending poison pen letters to different factions within the movement to divide them, telling Dr. King he should kill himself and all this stuff. And he ended up getting killed because he had a change of heart. He wanted to testify before Congress, and they killed him before he could testify. So I can find something else. Ooh, boy, this stuff is so deep. Yeah, I don't understand it. Stuff really deep. What time is it? Oh, man. I only got here by midnight Central Time. I'm not reading the chat room right now, but please feel free to leave stuff in the chat. Thank y'all for donations. If you donated, I'm not reading the chat room. I'm trying to stay focused on this mission. Oh my God, I'm trying to get out of here by 12 o'clock. But just look up this stuff, man. This stuff is out there for you all. Stop letting these folks tell you what the narrative should be and put together your own narrative. Simple as that. The Reuben Francis, the guy who shot Tomorrow's hair, he disappeared after that. Show you a picture of Ruben. They don't know what happened to Ruben. Just like the dude in the Young Dolph case, like in the Young Dolph, they let the guy, the accessory, after the crime go in Indiana. The Indiana authorities said that the Memphis folks didn't want to transport him down to Memphis, so they ended up letting him go. And they can't find him. That you know that the guy that was with Justin Johnston, aka Straight Drop, but they caught him in Indiana. I think his name was Butler, was Sharonda Butler or something. But he disappeared. But he probably be on witness protection though. That Young Dolph thing is about to blow. It's probably look like it's a RICO case. They're gonna get a lot of people. I mean, they messed up because by them killing Dolph, they opened up a Pandora box. They, feds is watching. The feds is watching. So they got all types of informants and stuff. It's only a matter of time for they get the big fish. But it's like it's going that way. Y'all need to pay attention to Young Dolph. There's a lot of people on YouTube. I can't do no 8-hour show. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get through 2 hours. It's folks out here doing 8-hour, 7-hour shows about Young Dolph and call-ins, and some people kind of way off base, and some people be have some good ideas about or good speculation about things. It's just good to be thinking critically right now, or to be thinking at all about anything. I encourage that. So let me find. So I want to show you a picture of Ruben. I don't know if I should show you a picture of Ruben Francis. Oh man. I got the right picture. Okay, this is Ruben Francis, right? The brother in the hat. That's the cat. The only reason why it was a trial at all is because he shot Tamaj Hayer in the leg. And Tamaj Hayer, he go by all these different names. But he's I think he's living in Brooklyn right now. He started him a family and living in Brooklyn. But he actually told in an affidavit who were the other assassins with him that day on February 21st, 1965. You know, the crazy, that crime scene was treated as a travesty. Like they had a dance later on that night in the same space where Malcolm X was assassinated. It was a black church sponsored dance. They still had bullets in the wall. It's not the black church fault. It's the fact that law enforcement didn't give a damn about solving the case. They left all types of evidence. Even the rostrum where Malcolm was standing at when they started shooting at him, that was left in the basement of the building for years. So they didn't even take that as crime scene evidence. They ain't do. I mean, it's sad how they treated Malcolm, man. But like once again, the universal soul God had other plans for the legacy of Brother Malcolm. That's why Malcolm is bulletproof now. Malcolm, what he said is still relevant. What he said, which is unfortunate, we were so much closer to where we need to be back on February 21st, 1965, than we are February 22nd, 2022, as a black people. Yeah, but Ruben Francis shot him in the leg, and he disappeared from history. Nobody knows what happened. We don't know what happened to Ruben Francis after that day. He disappeared. But let me find some stuff. It is so much information, man. And Dick Gregory loved this type of. It's like Dick Gregory, you walk around with a whole bunch of magazines and newspapers all the way up to the day he died. Going to the hotel room, got newspapers and magazines spread out. But he's a one-man information movement. And so we all gotta be our own one-person information movement and share as much as we can, while we can. But let me find. I'm trying to see. There's an article I found. Yeah, I should check out. Found this online. It's a Covert Action magazine, Who Ordered the Killing of Malcolm X. Came out July 2021. It's a good read, actually. It talks about Norman Butler and Muhammad Aziz not necessarily being innocent of helping kill Malcolm X. Showing a lot of interesting stuff. They also talk about the Ray Woods because they try to say that Ray Woods' letter was not real. Yeah, it told the truth. The thing about it is that the NYPD, the FBI, the United States government, the CIA, they don't want to be responsible for being known as killing Malcolm X. But they did have a hand in killing Malcolm X. That's the guy, Ahmaud Hayer. Had these different names he go by. He said he has remorse about killing Malcolm. Okay, maybe he does. Then they raised questions on wrongful convictions of Norman Butler. So I want to share something. That's William Constler, the famous lawyer who represented Ahmaud Hayer in court. But he got the affidavit. And let me just read this. This stuff is crazy. In 1977 and 78, Hayer gave the names of 4 men who he said were his accomplices as part of an affidavit given to civil rights lawyer William Constler, in which he laid out a detailed timeline of the assassination plot. Constler said that he did not know of any comparable case in American jurisprudence history in which an accomplice described a crime in such detail without a thorough reinvestigation. There ain't supposed to be a trial in the first place, but Reuben Francis shot Hayer in the leg that led to the trial. Think about it. If he didn't shoot Hayer in the leg, would there be anything coming out about what actually happened to Malcolm at this point? The 4-man Hayer identified were part of the Nation of Islam, Newark, New Jersey, Temple number 25. According to Hayer, a man he knew as Wilbur or Kinley, later identified as Wilbur McKinley, shot at and threw a smoke bomb to create a diversion. A man named Willie, later identified as William Bradley, aka Al Mustafa Shabazz, 28, a former Green Beret and stick-up man. See, this government, he was trained by the government. He's a government trained killer. To let you know, had a shotgun and was the first to fire on Malcolm X after the diversion. Okay. Hayer asserted that Bradley and a man named Lee or Leon, later identified as Leon Davis, both armed with pistols, fired on Malcolm X immediately after the shotgun blast. Hayer also said that a man named Ben, later identified as Benjamin Thomas, was involved in the conspiracy. Now, you should note that Hayer said that the 2 guys that were accused of killing Malcolm, who served out their time in prison, Khalil Islam and Muhammad Aziz, were not involved. To his knowledge, they were not assassins. They at least were not the assassins at the Audubon with him. He said they were not involved, but I don't think he really knew them guys anyway. But that's so-called William Bradley Mustafa Sabaz in 2004. That's him. Lived to a ripe old age. He was a pillar of the community in Newark. Even though they knew he was a killer. So after the assassination, Bradley served time in jail for robbery, aggravated assault, and drug possession, and then settled in Newark, where he ran a boxing gym and even appeared in a political ad for former Newark mayor and New Jersey Senator Cory Booker in 2010 before passing away in 2018. I interviewed Roland Shepard several times. As a white guy who's a socialist, he used to sell the newspaper, I believe, The Militant, and Malcolm X's rally and speeches at the Audubon. And Malcolm had a lot of respect for Roland Shepard. But I interviewed him, and it's consistent, like what they're saying in this article is consistent with what he told me. Roland Shepard, who sold the socialist newspaper The Militant outside the Audubon ballroom the day Malcolm X was shot, said that he saw a man resembling Bradley who had taken his seat near the podium in the police station afterwards, entering what appeared to be his office. He told me that story. Roland Shepard told me that story because he was trying to tell the police what he saw as a witness to the assassination of Malcolm X. He went to the police station. He saw Bradley come in and out smoking a cigarette. And then when the police officers asked him what he saw, he said, I can't remember shit, and walked back out. He said something like, I can't remember nothing. I can't remember shit. And he walked out because he saw what time it was. This stuff is deep, y'all. So now I'm not even mad at the Nation of Islam. They were used as they were puppets in this whole thing too. What I don't like about the nation, some of the representatives like Dr. Wesley Muhammad, he'll make Wesley Muhammad is brilliant. Dr. Wesley Muhammad is brilliant, but he'll make accusations that can't be proven. Like he claimed in trying to defend the Nation of Islam from having a part in killing Malcolm X. There's blood on their hands. There's no way they can get out of that. Just gotta accept that, okay? You had people within the nation that did not care for Malcolm. They wanted him gone, and they helped with the process. It is what it is. But the government is truly wholly responsible for the elimination of Malcolm because they could have stopped it. You had police intelligence agencies from Chicago that alerted New York that there was an assassination plot against Malcolm. You have police officers, police intelligence from Chicago telling New York, and the New York is a part of the reason why Malcolm got killed. New York police intelligence got Malcolm X killed by design. So it's a state-sponsored assassination. Yeah, we can talk about how Captain Joseph X and all these guys hated Malcolm for betraying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but at the end of the day, the government killed Malcolm. It is simple as that. As simple as that. And that's Tamaj Hare being saved by the police. And that's William Bradley. He's hiding a shotgun under his trench coat. It's crazy how the police, but they already knew who he was. He was one of their assets. And he was a trained killer. Who trained him? The United States government. Green Beret. Come on now. Yeah, he might have been Fruit of Islam, but he was Green Beret before Fruit of Islam. Trained killer. That's him in Cory Booker commercial. And that's Norman Butler as Muhammad Aziz today. But like I said, look at the pictures, man. That's him. Like, how do you explain his presence there? Now, this guy right here, this Khalil Islam, Thomas Johnson, he actually was at home. He wasn't there. But he was a known goon and enforcer for the nation. You guys hated Malcolm for what he allegedly did to Elijah Muhammad. It's another guy here. See, the New York Police Department allegedly had films of Malcolm X's killing that were never displayed at trial. Like there's rumors of the government having a film of Dr. King's assassination. But it's like you can never find it, but I wouldn't doubt it because Dick Gregory claimed that the black man was used as distraction, that the shots really came from above. The CIA killed Malcolm X directly. They gave the black man blanks, so it wasn't even them, according to Dick Gregory. But people say Dick Gregory is this and that. I tell you something. Dick Gregory has said some outlandish stuff over the years, but it's proven true years later. He has told me things off the record I'm not going to say on the air right now. But we'll see as time goes on if they bear fruit. But Dick Gregory, he knew things a lot of us don't know. He had, inside information. But the New York Police Department allegedly had films of Malcolm X killing, but they never displayed at trial. A key witness and identified butler named Sharon had a connection with the Newark Mines that was never explored. Her boyfriend, listen to this, her boyfriend who she sat next to, Linwood Cathcart, the lieutenant of Newark Mosque 25, wore a pin displaying his loyalty to Elijah Muhammad, was pictured laughing next to Malcolm's dying body, and was identified by one investigator as being part of the assassination team. So Newark Mosque number 25 plays a prominent role in the so-called elimination of Malcolm, neutralization of Malcolm. So think about what I said. I know Dr. Manny Marable claimed and some other sources that Minister Farrakhan was at Mosque number 25 in Newark the day Malcolm was hit. He was speaking in Mosque 25. You got Mosque number 7. Think about it, numerology. 2 + 5 is 7. Malcolm was over Mosque 7. Elijah Muhammad was born October 7th. This stuff is crazy. So this is the dude that his girlfriend claimed She sat next to at the Malcolm X last rally. This Linward Cathcart. Cathcart. Now, you know, the leader of that mosque at the time, James Shabazz, he ended up getting killed because they were claiming that that mosque was dealing in some type of organized crime, drug trafficking. So I think he got decapitated, James Shabazz, who used to lead that mosque. He had an issue with Malcolm. I believe he was decapitated over some organized crime, black mafia stuff. I don't know, man. This stuff is so deep. Hmm. This is sad, man. Another witness identified Ben Thomas of the Newark Mosque as an assassin, though this lead was never followed up. The testimony of other key prosecuted witnesses was riddled with exclusions, distortions, and outright lies. The witnesses were coached and manipulated by the police and district attorney's office. One was arrested on trumped charges and had to cooperate with the prosecution to avoid jail. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. Neither the prosecution nor defense called Reuben Francis, Malcolm's bodyguard, who shot Hayer, to testify at the trial, or Malcolm's right hand man, Benjamin Kareem, aka Benjamin Goodman, who manned the door to Audubon on the day of the killing. So they ain't really, like I said, the only reason they had the trial was because Reuben Francis shot Hader in leg. There was never going to be a trial for the murder of Malcolm X. The government didn't want that because they helped kill them. And they didn't want no fingers pointing back at the NYPD or the FBI or the CIA or the US government. Let me see. As if they wanted it to happen, police misconduct. Days before his assassination, Malcolm's home in Queens had been firebombed, yet there was no police detail supplied to the Audubon when he was murdered. An exception was patrolman Gilbert Henry, who was told to conceal himself some distance from the main auditorium where Malcolm spoke. Henry testified that he had been told to stay where he could not be seen and communicate by walkie-talkie with a police detail concealed across the street in the Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center complex where Malcolm's body was taken after the shooting, and to tell them to notify police in the hospital if anything happened. At previous Malcolm X rallies, there had been at least half a dozen police officers present. In this case, with no security at the door, the assassins were easily able to walk in. Hmm. Police later claimed that they offered protection, but that Malcolm refused it, though Malcolm had complained to Alex Haley that the police did not take his request for protection seriously. On the day of the shooting, journalist Jimmy Breslin received a tip from the NYPD that he should go to the Audubon ballroom, indicating someone in the NYPD knew what would transpire. When the police arrived at the scene after Malcolm had been shot, according to eyewitnesses, they displayed no sense of urgency. It was if they wanted it to happen, Malcolm's death. Earl Grant is one of Malcolm, I think one of Malcolm's followers, disciples, said because he was on I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, said he saw an incredible scene in which a dozen police were strolling into the ballroom after the shooting at about the pace one would expect of them if they were patrolling a quiet park. They did not seem to be at all excited or concerned about the circumstances, and not one had his gun out. As a matter of absolute fact, some of them even had their hands in their pocket. Afterwards, the NYPD did not secure the scene of the crime as they normally would. A dance at the Audubon, went on as scheduled at 7 p.m. with bullets still in the wall. A rostrum with bullet holes was found in the basement of the Audubon ballroom years later. It had never been examined by the police. Oh, they did not care, man. It's like how they contaminated Dr. King's crime scene. They wiped up the blood and everything. They did not care. Dr. King would normally have an all-black police security detail protecting him when he used to come to Memphis. Last time came to Memphis, he had no police protection. Police was told to stand down blocks away. So this is what we're dealing with, man. Y'all keep on, man, we don't know who did this. I know who did it. I know who really invented the Crips and the Bloods. It wasn't us. man. I don't trust David Girl. That's John Ali right there. That's the National Secretary for the Nation of the FBI. There was an interview by David Girl and the other guy from DC for the Netflix thing. Ella Collins. And also, they said it was two people arrested in Malcolm's demise in the early editions of the newspapers in New York, but they changed it to one. They said they made a mistake. I'm gonna read that a little bit. This stuff is crazy. On the day of Malcolm's killing, the early edition of both the New York Times and New York Herald Tribune reported the NYPD had apprehended two suspects. Later editions of both papers, however, changed their headlines and reported only one suspect, Hayer, was apprehended. Mm-mm-mm. Cover up, cover up. Black nationalists and Trotskyites, noticing the discrepancy, charged that the NYPD had covered up its involvement in the assassination and that the assailant was a bossy Bureau of Special Services and Investigation agent whom the crowd recognized as one of the killers because they had beaten and then shot him. The NYPD and mainstream journalist Peter Goldman attributed the confusion about the number of suspects to the fact that reporters had debriefed NYPD officer Thomas Hoy at the scene and another NYPD officer, Alvin Aronoff, as the station house, not realizing they were talking about the same man. Okay. However, in a news video made right after the assassination, NYPD's chief inspector reported two suspects being in custody. Herman Ferguson, a founding member of the Organization of Afro-American Unity, said that he witnessed an olive-complexioned man who had been shot being taken by the NYPD away from the hospital across the street, Jewish Memorial Hospital, which would have been a natural place given his injury, and in the direction of the Hudson River. The FBI reported that Hayer was treated after being taken to custody at the Jewish Memorial Hospital across the Audubon, where Malcolm was also taken, meaning that he was not the one witnessed by Ferguson in the patrol car. Interesting. Eric Norden reported that the olive-skinned man had been rushed into the patrol car by the cops and told to get down between the seats. Thin-lipped and wearing a turtleneck sweater, he bore an uncanny resemblance to a man who had tailed Malcolm on a trip to London through his return flight to New York 1 week before the assassination. See, that's the CIA. Dick Gregory talked about that. They said the CIA came in, like a week or so before the actual thing at the Audubon to be able to shoot from above towards Malcolm. He claimed that the autopsy report showed that bullets came from a downward spiral. You know, the guys, if they shot Malcolm, the black dudes, the black Muslims, it's probably coming in an upward spiral. I mean, it's probably coming upward, right? Not downward. But I don't know, man. Who am I? I'm just here to make you think, as somebody would say. But this stuff is deep. And they say, get this now. There were 9 FBI informants that day at the Audubon, the day Malcolm got killed. 9. They had 9 FBI informants at the Audubon that day, and they were not called to testify, I don't believe, at the murder trial. So they, this universe. So God got a funny way of showing sense of humor. But look, there is nobody that's for black folks. The people that are for black people, a lot of us don't support because we love white folks more than we love ourselves. And nothing wrong with showing love to anybody, but if you don't love yourself, then you can't do what's right or what's necessary. See, when you love yourself, you commit to doing the hard things that can make life sometimes very uncomfortable because you value self-determination. You value liberation. A lot of us don't want to be responsible. There's a lot of responsibility to be really free because there's no security in freedom. That means you got to make some hard choices to really want to be what you desire to be. And a lot of us don't desire to be any more than just slaves to convenience, slaves to uncomfortable comfort, slaves to others. We don't want anything for ourselves. It's like with I remember when Joe Biden won, he got help from Jim Clyburn from South Carolina. It was the primaries and black folks came out in South Carolina that really saved Joe Biden's assets. And he is, and they asked, a news reporter asked Jim Clyburn, what did he want from Biden? He said, I don't want nothing. I don't want nothing. I just happy. That's what he should have sounded like. I'm just a happy. I don't want nothing. It's just I don't want nothing from Joe. What type of fool talks like that? They're probably a political leader. You supposed to have leverage when you come through for that guy like that. He owes you something. But the thing about it is, these folks talking about making the national black anthem the national anthem. That's really nonsense stuff that don't really serve to really empower me. It's like somebody said, "Don't pay me reparations, give me back what's mine." Something like that. Don't pay. I mean, our people, man, it's kind of strange that folks still got. It's problematic for folks to speak on Malcolm, even today. Like folks got to clarify. You know, he said by any means necessary. We up here saying by any means necessary. Then we say, well, we don't really mean that. Well, don't say it. It's like he said, if you ain't ready for freedom, take the word out your vocabulary. Don't talk about stuff you ain't ready to take responsibility for. It's not popular being honest in a society built on lies. It's not. To be a truth seeker and a truth teller, you pay a price. A lot of folks up here, they comfortable. They'll look at your life story on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, but they don't want to be you. I remember when I was in college, some of these sisters say, well, I want a man like Malcolm and Martin. I said, no, you don't. Are you crazy? You don't want no man like that. First of all, he won't be that popular, especially among his own kind. Then he won't last that long. He'll die before he turns 40. He'll leave you with all these kids. So you'll be a queen mother, but you'll be alone. Ain't no man gonna want to come behind a Dr. King or Malcolm X. You be by yourself with your kids. You be feeling bitter and disillusioned. I can only imagine. I remember when Medgar Evers, I don't remember, but reading about the death and the aftermath of Medgar Evers' assassination, I know his widow, who I met a couple of times, Sister Merle, beautiful sister. She was so angry at black people when he died. Not just white folks. She was really angry at her own people because how they treated Medgar when he was alive. Like you had black folks that be walking in Jackson. They see Medgar Evers on the same sidewalk. They cross the street to get away from Medgar. They won't say hello. They just cross to get away from him. Like he was like some type of a disease or something, or plague. But he would really work on behalf of his people. And but he basically told her, don't worry about what people do. You can't control that. You know, why should you lose your peace of mind and sleep over people the way they think about you? And if and even if they hurt you, they don't really care. So why should you care about them, how they think about you, how they perceive you? Let's do what you're supposed to be doing. And you know, like I said, there's people still trying to justify why Malcolm had to get killed. Malcolm didn't have to get killed. It's like Dolph didn't have to get killed. You know, young Dolph didn't have to get killed. You know, I think about that Kanye was a genius documentary. And I remember, man, it was powerful, man. Kanye was just like he had a beef with his Jegna, one of his mentors. Y'all call him mentors, I call him Jegna. Mentors mean some other shit, but I'm gonna call him Jegna. A guy that his mama connected him with called Doug Infinite. Infinite is Doug Infinite, it's something like that. But one of the guys who helped him, who no ID, and this guy named Doug Infinite taught Kanye how to create beats. You know, I think his mom connected him with Doug Infinite, and I think Doug Infinite connected him to No ID. And it was interesting because Kanye came back home for a conference. He was like a headliner in the conference, right? And you know, it's like you see Doug Infinite and him getting along like they old, like you know, like catching up. Like Doug was happy for him, and they having a beer. They you know, then the next thing Kanye know, several hours later, you know, Doug got a diss song. He on the radio got a diss song on Kanye, clowning Kanye. And Kanye could not believe this. Man, I never would expect that he would do that to me. Like we was chilling just a couple hours before. So Kanye confronted Doug Infinite. Doug Infinite. I think his name Doug. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I know y'all be the guy. Y'all, if y'all seen the Genius documentary part 1, you know what I'm talking about. But they had it out, Um, he confronted him in his car outside, I think the radio station or something. And Kanye told him how he felt, and the dude said, "Man, Kanye, man, you got like you did this by yourself or whatever. You didn't even mention me in the double XL article." And Kanye said, "I did mention you, but they didn't include you. I told you that I mentioned your name as one of my people to help me, but they just made an editorial decision and cut you out." So they were like, he didn't get his recognition. But instead of them fighting each other or trying to kill each other or shoot each other, they talked as brothers, man. Doug took him around the van, were out of earshot of the cameraman, Cootie. But they talked. But the other guy that was Kanye said, "Man, I don't do all that, man. I'll bum rush him." You know what I'm saying? Like, you disrespect me, ain't no talking. It's on. But Kanye in his own way de-escalated all that. Because he knew, I felt Kanye had empathy for the guy. Even though the guy dogged him out on radio, he had compassion and empathy for how hurt this guy was. Because, like, the guy felt like he was getting I mean, he a human being. And we all got egos. But I think Kanye, he was different because they could have went another way. Because you got cats out here getting killed over lyrics and all this stuff. Dudes never met each other. And you got animosity. You look, I wish more hip hop and rappers would look at what Kanye did with Doug Infinite and squash their beef that way. And when don't need no slow singing and flower bringing, man. We got to stop that. But the thing about hip hop, it's always been compromised. The culture always been compromised. Uh, I always, rappers would have been the revolutionaries 50, 60 years ago. They would have been the revolutionaries. Stokely Carmichael, can you imagine Stokely Carmichael and H. Rap Brown and Fred Hampton being rappers? Young Dolph, King Von, they could have been. I mean, Young Dolph looks like Stokely Carmichael. And they joke about that, but he had the gift of communication. And it's all about design, man. Because people say, well, are you comparing Young Dolph to Malcolm? Malcolm used to be Detroit Red. Dolph had a past, but he also had a promising future. Would he be part of the solution rather than the problem? They took him out of here over organized hate. They took Malcolm out of here on organized hate. Dolph had potential. I remember I didn't meet Dolph personally, but I was in the same room when Farrakhan came to promote the Justice or Else movement he was doing back in 2015. I think it's like August of 2015. This is the MLK Labor Center on Beale Street. And I didn't know who Dolph looked like. I was familiar with his music, but I was familiar with how he looked. But he was in the room. They let him meet with Farrakhan. He took a picture with Farrakhan. And I saw, A.L.L, MJG. I saw Player Fly, some of my music heroes, and took pictures with them. I didn't get a chance to connect with Dolph. I probably passed them or whatever. I don't know. But listen to his lyrics. Dolph, to me, was kind of exception. He didn't really talk about killing people. I know this sounds strange. I mean, you look at the stuff he did talk about women, sex and drugs, but if you listen to his music, he didn't really talk about I'm gonna kill this MF, I'm gonna do this and that. I mean, he didn't move like that. Which is interesting. Think about the type of rap. You think about your words create worlds and stuff. I mean, your words create worlds. He wasn't moving like that. I think a lot of them cats thought he was soft because he would retaliate against folks who was doing him harm. Because people said, well, Memphis killed him. No, organized hate killed him. Wherever he went, he attracted haters, and they wanted to silence him by any means necessary. And somebody said they wish Dolph would have told the authorities, but authorities really, organized crime is law enforcement. Telling who, man? I show you with Malcolm X. They killed Malcolm X. NYPD got that on their hands, man. If y'all can't see that, y'all the same type of hate or disdain y'all show for the nation and being involved in Malcolm's demise. Look at the United States government. Look at the NYPD. The judge exonerated or cleared the names of Butler, Muhammad Aziz, and Khalil Islam. That was a way to cover up state dirt. They didn't care about them old Negroes getting exonerated. They were trying to hide their hand because the Ray Woods thing, people say it was a forgery. No, it might have been a forgery. Ray Woods, it might have been a forgery, but it told the truth about how they were able to get out some soldiers for Malcolm off the streets before his assassination. You know, like you look at JFK, his Secret Service was compromised. You got a person like Abraham Bowden, who was selected by President Kennedy to be on his personal security detail. Abraham Bowden was the first Black Secret Service agent to be on a presidential detail, and he was hand selected by Kennedy, but he had to leave because of the extreme racism and disregard for the life of the president. Because a lot of them Secret Service guys came from the South. Just like a lot of them original SWAT team people out in LA, they came from the South. They were recruited from the South. So these was some racist. But it was making all type of inappropriate jokes about the N-word lover. And so he told his superiors that he felt like the president's life was in danger because of the attitude of some of the men around Kennedy. And it was not taken seriously till the president got killed, because it was also Abraham Bowden that helped stop the assassination of President Kennedy in Chicago. They were trying to kill President Kennedy at the Army-Navy game. And Abraham Bowden and some other people spotted some Cuban nationals with some heavy artillery in Chicagoland area. So they was able to alert the other authorities, and Bobby Kennedy told President Kennedy not come to Chicago. But they eventually got him in Dallas several weeks later, though. That's the thing. But Abraham Bowden was supposed to testify before the Congress of the Warren Commission, I believe. And he was framed on running a counterfeit ring in Chicago. They framed Abraham Bowden. Abraham Bowden destroyed his good name, put him in prison for almost 5 years. They're trying to kill him in prison because he had almost 100% conviction rate. So he was in prison like Fort Leavenworth and other places where inmates he put away for a long time was trying to get at him. Y'all need to read his autobiography, Echo from Daily Plaza. We interviewed Brother Abraham Bowden several years ago, and then all of a sudden everybody started interviewing Abraham Bowden. This stuff went kind of viral. It went woke viral for me. But Abraham Bowden went through a lot over these last couple of years. He lost his daughter and son to illnesses over the last year or two. So I'm thinking about Brother Abraham, my thoughts and prayers. I wish he could have got exonerated, or his name could have been cleared under Trump. They actually was looking into trying to clear his name. But here's the thing. If his name is cleared, that means the government killed Kennedy. See, that's the thing. Like, if they actually do the right thing by Abraham Bowden, that means it clearly shows that the government was involved in killing Kennedy. And you don't even have to hell there, because it's been proven that the government was involved in killing Kennedy. But it's like you look at even Robert Kennedy with Sirhan. That man been in prison for over 50 plus. I think he's out of prison. They're supposed to vote to get him out of prison. This Sirhan, who's the alleged assassin of Robert Kennedy. But Sirhan didn't kill Robert Kennedy. It was Robert Kennedy's security detail that killed him, because the shot that killed Robert Kennedy came from behind his right ear. And Sirhan was always in front of Robert Kennedy. Now, he had a gun. He let off some shots. He hurt some people, allegedly. There were too many shots that were not accounted for. It could not come from his gun. But the gun that killed Robert Kennedy came from behind. And it was a security guard guy that was hired to be a security detail, who had disdain allegedly for Robert Kennedy. He died several years ago in the Philippines, I believe. Never faced justice. But I mean, this stuff is deep, man. Because like, if you tell the truth, it means, man, these are the folks that's really involved. Same thing with Malcolm, man. Like William Consul said, they should have reopened their case based on that affidavit that Tamaj Hayer gave. They should have reinvestigated what happened to Malcolm. But the thing about it is, the government killed Malcolm. I mean, how are you going to tell the fox to guard the hen house? How are you going to tell the fox to guard the hen house? How are you going to trust the fox to guard the hen house? And then when hens and eggs go missing, well, the fox said he didn't, Fox didn't see anybody. How did it happen? I don't know, man. But with the Dolph thing, that stuff's so deep. It's deep, then it's not so deep. The industry killed Dolph, man. He was a sacrifice. You look at his last album, Paper Route, Illuminati. I love that album. But they made him an offer he shouldn't have refused. and it is what it is. But what we don't understand, we all making offers that we should refuse, and we make them for. We pay a heavy interest on things that we shouldn't even be making decisions on. But I got my maybe I'll give y'all 10 more minutes. I don't know. But the Ahmaud Arbery thing, it was a majority white jury that found these guys guilty. His three killers. But the thing about it is, it just rubbed me. I'm glad that you look at, okay, the Kim Potter girl, the lady who killed their brother up in Minnesota, she only got 2 years. And I just believe that she knew that she was pulling that gun out instead of that taser. She's been a police officer too long for her to make that type of mistake. And I can remember looking at her mugshot, how she's smirking or smiling in the mugshot. Philando Castile. So many people, man, go on and on, but until we start taking ourselves seriously about these things, like people should be afraid to disrespect black folks how they are to disrespect Jews and gays, and now Asians. So we're a running joke. We do not take our own selves serious enough to hold ourselves up to that standard that Malcolm X, that Ida B. Wells, that Marcus got, so many other people that came before want us to do. So when you don't do that, nobody respect you. And really, respect starts with self-respect. So I'm not gonna play this game with people about we don't know who did this and that. I wish somebody would ask Minister Farrakhan. Maybe I would, and not to be funny, but I'm saying that there's no public record of him saying where he was at, as far as I know, when Malcolm got killed. Not saying that he actually helped kill, but he admitted that I helped contribute to the environment that led to his demise, because he wrote that article with the cartoon with the bouncing Malcolm head with the horns. Now, Nation of Islam had some killers in it. You think about the Black Mafia up in Philadelphia. The Black Mafia could have killed Teddy Pendergrass's manager at the time. This beautiful black woman that lived in Germantown, I guess suburb of Philadelphia, got killed in front of her home. Then it was an editor for Ebony Jet. Let me see. Did I talk enough about Young Dolph? I don't know, but like this is weird. Like they got these two persons of interest. Now they got Cornelius Smith and Justin Johnson, aka Straight Drop. They in prison. Straight Drop can't afford no lawyer, so they gave him a court-appointed lawyer. But the other guy got a lawyer. But they got two persons of interest they looking at. They're not suspects, but they offering $2,000 a piece as rewards for them being found. So they playing games. This stuff is weird. First of all, it was a fool's errand to go kill Young Dolph like that. That should not. That was a fool's errand. That's a suicide run. That's a crash test dummy run. It's been proven because you got these two guys. They might be patsies though. Can I tell you, some of these guys look so much alike. Some of the young black dudes, skinny jeans, and the way they move, they look so much alike now. But the thing about it is, the value of life has become so cheap. And therein lies the problem, but that's all conditioning and programming. It's not just a black thing, it's a humanity thing, but they have desensitized us so much. It's sad. And I just hope that we wake up in time. But it was a system. And I'm gonna close it out, man. I'm sorry if I didn't talk about all the things that y'all think I should have talked about. I don't know, man. Close it out. Let's see. There's a female editor, I think, for the. I can't find her. It says she might have been killed by the Black Mafia of Philadelphia. But she's supposed to be making her way back home to Chicago. Her name. Let's see. Okay, this beautiful black woman. I'm gonna leave y'all with this. I might do a follow-up story. Uh, let's see. I know I've been taking some bed, take these many long pauses, but I'm just looking up this stuff. Trying to find a decent picture of her. Okay, this work. Thank y'all for sharing, hanging out with me. We love you madly. Found this sister. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Are y'all familiar with this sister right here, Michelle Bergen? Sad story. Died too young. I think she's like 26. I want to talk about her. Got Lipstick Alley. Holler any other information outside of some of these blogs on Michelle Bergen. I'll read. Michelle Bergen, Sunrise 1954, Sunset 1980, was a 26-year-old assistant magazine editor who had an appointment with Ernest Edwards in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Edwards was a Nation of Islam businessman associated with the notorious Philadelphia Mosque Number 12. There has been no indication if his ties were thoroughly investigated. Shortly after her meeting with Edwards, she was found shot to death at LaGuardia Airport on February 25th, 1980, in a Hertz rental car. Now, our sister was on the TV show in the heat of the night. So this beautiful black woman got killed. And some people pointing the fingers at the Black Mafia of Philadelphia that came out of Mosque Number 12. I believe Brother Malcolm was aware of Mosque Number 12 in Philadelphia. One thing that some of the people inside the nation feared was that Malcolm was going to clear house once he, became the successor. He was like, people thought he was going to be the successor to Elijah Muhammad. And a lot of these people was running all types of games in the nation. I ain't saying everybody, but some people in leadership was out for themselves. And Malcolm wasn't having that. Malcolm was an honest broker. And he really, Malcolm took a vow of poverty. He died a poor man. Malcolm had no home. Remember, the home that was firebombed was owned by the Nation of Islam. And my understanding, when he died, he had holes in the bottom of his shoes. He had, Malcolm was like I said, his sister Ella took care of him a lot. His big sister. But let me see. Read another take from Lipstick Alley. She was young. She was beautiful. She was full of life, and by any account, could have probably had any man she wanted. So, who killed the vivacious 26-year-old at LaGuardia Airport nearly 40 years ago? Well, now it's like, what, 42 years ago, come this February 25th. Wow. I think the ancestors be speaking to me. I didn't know she died on February 25th. It just happened. She's been on my mind. Michelle was the younger sister of actress Denise Nichols, whose career had an impressive resume at the time, being that she starred in the black exploitation movies Blackula, Let's Do It Again, and Piece of the Action, just to name a few. She also had starring roles on television shows Room 222. Oh my God, 222. And Baby I'm Back. Denise was also extremely pretty. That's the sister of Michelle Bergen. According to reports, Michelle was very edgy and nervous the few weeks leading up to her death. Supposedly, she wasn't only an editor for Ebony magazine, she was also a drug courier. She had connections to the Philly Black Mafia. If you know anything about them, they were gruesome. They didn't play. The story goes that her boyfriend had no knowledge of this. The grapevine also says that somehow Michelle messed up a package. They thought she wore a wire. She knew they were upset at her. The mere fact that they were upset scared Michelle shitless because they were not to be elf with. She still thought she could iron the wrinkles out with them, which led her to meet with some dude named Ernest. Michelle told her boyfriend that she had to meet Ernest because he was setting up his own newspaper and he had asked her to be the editor. I smell a setup already. She rented a car and met two men at the airport. The men were rumored to be members of Philly's black mob or connected with them. Many think they took her out. Hearsay also says that the Philly black mob thought she snitched on them. Oh well, that's that's the game, man. Who knows, man? But that's an unsolved cold case, 42 years, but that's some deep stuff. Then like I said, Teddy Pendergrass. They did a great documentary on Teddy Pendergrass. That came out on Showtime a couple years ago. His manager was this beautiful black woman got killed in front of her home, and some people feel like there was a black Philly mafia that killed her. And Teddy Pendergrass was a targeted individual too. They talked about how the police had a problem with Teddy Pendergrass in Philadelphia, even though he was an international superstar. They it's just like his breaks. I mean, it's just so much stuff to unpack, folks. So with that said, I think that's enough for tonight. But I just told y'all Michelle Bergen should be looked at and some other people. But there's Bela Lugosi. That's the guy who played Dracula, the iconic version of Dracula, Bela Lugosi. I think that's his name. But anyway, thank y'all for tuning in and tuning out with me to get in tune with yourselves. And I thoroughly enjoyed this podcast as I always do. And I hope something makes sense and sticks to you all. I don't know, man. I just, like I said, I didn't know if I want to do something tonight, but I went ahead and did it because it was 2 when we started. So it's doing 2-2. It's doing 22. So manifest what you want out of this thing called life and make it yours. This is your movie. You choose the genre. You are the lead. You are the director. You are the screenwriter of your story. So tell it like a TI is. If you like the words from Brother Herb, please spread the word. Subscribe to We All Be TV on YouTube. That's We All Be TV on YouTube. Also, you can support the movement. Cash App it. $ R2C2H2. That's $ R2C2H2. You can PayPal, Google Pay, and Zelle your support. Email R2C2H2 at gmail.com. That's email R2C2H2 at gmail.com. You can Vimo your support at R2C2H2. You can buy artivist art. I don't put all my artwork out there because I got a lot of artwork out there. See that behind me? Got a lot of artwork. I don't know, like I said, I already know I'm gonna be one of them people that somebody gonna write a dissertation on 100 years from now. Probably gonna be my dream woman, and I ain't gonna be able to meet her. It is what it is. But also, you can wear artivist art. Go down below the description box if you're on YouTube to our official Teespring store, R2C2H2's place. So thank you all, man. I really enjoyed this. This is funny. Like I said, I'm back in the gym. My left foot is officially healed, man. It feels so good to be able to run again. Like I said, I run like 5 miles or 6 miles or 3 miles will make a difference. I'm a running fool. I like to dance too. People don't understand. I'm a big guy, but I move. I don't see walk. I run walk. I walk. I got my educated feet and stuff. But anyway, let me read a disclaimer. And I'm gonna try to do several Black History shows before the end of this month. Man, I got a lot of Black History that I want to share with y'all. Doing a lot of research, and it's amazing stuff out here. And I just want my people to get tuned. And I think, like I said, them letters of encouragement, text messages, letters of encouragement that I get from the people, I really appreciate that. I read them all. Don't always respond to everything, but I thank you all, man. It means a lot. You don't know how much it means. Um, Disclaimer: the views expressed by hosts and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Inc. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that's usually supplied by the corporate news entity with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information and letting the general public be the ultimate judge in deciding on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support. Thank you all. I want to thank the moderators. If you let me see if I get out of here. See some of these comments. Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's good stuff here. Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to thank y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Moderators, people for showing up and showing out. Where's the great Duke Ellington? We love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing. I'm out of here. One love.